What's up guys, Maelstrom here. If you enjoy the video then like, subscribe and leave a comment down below so I can keep on making these awesome videos for you guys. A 13-year-old blonde boy sat in the biggest tree of the Namikaze compound and watched said family enjoy themselves. "I did it, Daddy," a 4-year-old redhead yelled. "Very good, Naruto. You are so good," his father cheered. His daughter had just managed to unlock her chakra despite her young age. Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime Hokage, had begun his daughter's training today. The boy scowled as he watched his Hokage interact with his daughter. Then the door to the house opened and revealed a tall red head. Kushina Uzumaki looked at her family with a big hearty smile. She loved how father and daughter acted together. The kid in the tree just sighed and thought about his past. Flashback. A 4-year blonde boy looked at his father with teary eyes. "Get out, Naruto. I have no time to deal with a monster like you," Minato snarled, refusing to call the boy his son. Naruto just stood there with tears in his eyes and hung his head. With that he left not only the room but also the house. He ran through the village, not seeing the frowns or hearing the hushed whispers of the people he ran past. Finally he reached the forest of death and slipped through a hole in the fence and vanished into the deadly wood. After what felt like hours he finally stopped and slumped against a big tree to cry. The big animals of the forest turned their attention to the newcomer. Hunger flashed in their eyes as they followed the crying voice. They saw the crying boy, but something stopped them. The aura that surrounded him. It wasn't malicious but soothing. It felt calm. So instead of pouncing and devouring the kid, they tiptoed to it and lay around it, creating a big circle of calm animals around it. "You shouldn't cry over such a bastard," a sudden demonic voice stated firm. Who are you?" the boy sobbed, not looking up. "Come on, I will bring you to me," the voice stated, and the boy felt a tug on his consciousness before he was enveloped in darkness. Naruto opened his eyes and saw a wide green area with a giant forest on the side and a traditional Japanese house behind him. He wiped away the tears to get a good view. His mouth hung open. "Behind you," the voice said simple. The kid turned around and saw a tall man in a blood-red kimono standing on the veranda. But what caught the boy's attention were 9 orange tails swaying behind him. "Kuwabai?" the kid asked, the pain completely forgotten. "You are quite good, kiddo. I would have thought that you would snap at me or cry for help." The man ran hand through his hair. Naruto tried to find the right words. "Yes?" Kuwabai inquired. "Can you talk differently? You sound scary." The kid shuddered a bit. Kuwabai stared at its host for a moment before a chuckle escaped him. "You are quite okay, kid," he laughed in a normal voice. Naruto stared at Kuwabai with big eyes. "Come here, kiddo. We have some talking to do." The Baijuya smiled and sat down at the veranda. Naruto hesitated for a moment before he walked over to the man and sat beside him. He looked up to the man's face and tried to give a smile. "I have an offer for you, Naruto," the man stated, firm but not angry. What do you mean?" the kid asked. "I offer you training to get stronger," the man began calm. "Really?" the kid jumped up and looked at the man with glittering eyes. "But it will be harder than anything you have ever endured in your short life," he continued calm, not noticing that he was interrupted. Naruto on the other hand didn't listen anymore. He was too eager to get stronger, to be interested in the malicious training the Kuwabai would give him. "I can get stronger?" Naruto inquired. "This kid is a monster. Nobody would accept my training knowing it would be hell on earth," the Kuwabai thought, surprised. "Yes, you can get stronger. But remember that my training will be hellish," Kuwabai stated firm. Naruto looked at him with big puppy eyes. The Kuwabai sighed. Okay. But let's make some things clear," the man sighed and rubbed the bridge of his nose. "This kid will become the strongest of the strongest," the man thought with sigh. "First of all, my name is Kurama, not Kuwabai. That name came from you humans, Kurama stated firm, making Naruto nod. Okay Kurama-sensei, Naruto smiled. Sensei? This has a good ring to it, Kurama thought as a smile grew on his face. Secondly, I will give you 2 gifts, he began but was interrupted by Naruto jumping at him, giving him a big hug. Kurama sat there with the little kid hugging the life out of him. He stared around, not being used such a sudden affection. Following the memories of his former host, he returned the hug. Minutes later they parted and looked away from each other. Kurama coughed and tried to restart the conversation. Well, okay, to your gifts, he coughed. Naruto nodded, also not really used to another person's touch. Since I'm the strongest Baijuyu, I can give you a part of my father, he paused. I will give you the Rinnegan, he stated firm. Naruto looked at him puzzled. It's the best of the 3 dojutsu. The Byakugan and the Sharingan are good but not as good as the Rinnegan, Kurama explained with a serious face. Naruto's eyes grew bigger and gave a eager nod. But the other gift will be painful, Kurama continued. Why? Naruto asked confused. I will give you a body-related Kekkai Genkai. This will change your body and this process will be painful, the man stated, calm but the worry in his voice audible. How much? Naruto asked, not really sure if he could handle it. It will feel like your whole body is melting before it begins to reconstruct itself. I will keep you in here during the process so it won't be all too bad, Kurama explained. Naruto only nodded and looked towards the wide green meadow in front of the house. He seemed to collect himself for what was coming. Kurama eyed the mental embodiment of his container. Can we do it now? The kid asked, calm, showing that he was ready to bear anything thrown at him. Okay. Let's do it. Kurama's smile turned evil and his demonic voice returned. Naruto was immediately engulfed in red chakra and began to scream. The change of his body had begun and Kurama had set to work on his container. Meanwhile the Hokage sat in his office and stared at the door. The same door he had thrown out his son hours before. A heavy lump forming in his gut. Hey kiddo, a new voice greeted and ripped him from his thoughts. He turned to the side and saw an older man with long spiky white hair crouching in the window. Hey Jiraiya-sensei. What are you doing here? The blonde man asked. Can't I visit my student once in a while? The old man asked in a mock-hurt tone. The Hokage gave him a "Are you seriously asking that" look and the Toad Sage shrugged. I'm here because of a prophecy from the Toads, he stated serious. Minato perked up at that and gave his former sensei a big smile. The prophecy speaks of a child born from the 2 strongest ninja of this era. The child will bear a burden and a strength inside of it. Walking the path of light and warmth, it will our savior or be cast to darkness and be its destroyer, the Toad Sage finished, and Minato paled. What have I done? He thought. Minato, I believe that child is Naruto. He holds the Kyuubi and is the son of the strongest ninja in this era. You have to let me train him, the sage nearly pleaded. Why? Simple. If the world ends, then he can't make his precious research anymore. When Minato on the other hand didn't answer and paled even further, making him look like Orochimaru, Jiraiya just had to ask. What's wrong, kiddo? I have made a big mistake, he stuttered and hit his head against the table with a loud thud. His sensei looked at him confused. What do you mean? What did you do? Jiraiya asked with a very bad feeling in his gut. Minato stayed silent and repetitive banged his head against the table till he bled. Only then he raised his head and looked at the old man. I think I already cast him into the darkness. These simple words made Jiraiya's fears triple. His own student had cast his son aside for whatever reason he had at the time. What did you do? He asked, hoping he had somehow misheard his student. He came to me, a few hours ago, asking for training. I just snapped, and called him a monster, and that I didn't want anything to do with him, the Hokage stuttered under the growing evil look of his sensei. You did what? The man yelled so loud that the room vibrated. Sensei, Minato began but was cut off. Don't sensei me now, Minato. With that the Toad Sage dashed from the office in search of his godson. Minato on the other hand looked at the spot his sensei stood moments before with a pained expression. While Jiraiya dashed through Konoha in search of his godson, deep inside the forest of death a screaming voice was heard. The animals laying around the boy looked at the spastic body screaming his soul out. Not one of them knew what to do, so they stayed in their places. The screaming continued for another hour till Naruto fell silent. The snake closest to the boy edged forward to look at him and saw that his body had changed. In comparison to his former short, maybe a bit tubby body, he was now a bit taller and well trained with ABS. But something else caught its eyes. There under its skin something moved. It was like hundreds of small snakes moving through his body. A sudden groan made every animal look at the kid's face. What happened? Naruto groaned as he opened his now purple eyes. I have finished changing your body. Starting tomorrow you will start your training under me. But for now you should look around. You have some new friends, Kurama stated calm. Naruto sat up and looked around. He saw a huge amount of animals lying around and staring at him. From giant tigers and snakes on the floor to enormous owls on branches above him. Hey, the kid waved calm. That woke them from their trance and they stood up. An inch-long orange snake with light green eyes slithered up to him, up his leg and slipped in his right sleeve. Closely behind the snake came a small black fox with yellow eyes that jumped on his shoulder and nuzzled its head against his. Finally a brown owl with red eyes landed on his other shoulder and looked at him with its big eyes. So you guys wanna come along? He asked calm. The fox and the owl nodded while the snake's head emerged from his sleeve and nodded at him too. Then Naruto turned to the bigger animals to ask their permission. They gave him a nod and vanished back to their hunting grounds. So what about names for you three? He asked, gaining a curious look from the three. I think they already have names, kiddo. Kurama laughed as the animals shook their heads. You are right, but they can't tell me. So I need names for them, the kid thought back. I could establish a mental link between you four. Like this you could communicate with them even if you ever get separated. And I could teach them some stuff while you are busy, Kurama suggested. That sounds good. Let me ask them. Naruto smiled and turned to his new friends. What do you three think about sharing a deeper connection with me? My sensei can help us, he asked, and they looked at each other. While they thought about it, Naruto began to look around. With his changed vision everything seemed so different. He could see blue mist lingering in the area. Is this chakra? He thought, surprised by his sudden intellect. Yes it is, and let me guess you're surprised by your sudden increase of intellect, right? Kurama chuckled. Obviously, sensei. I'm just 4 years old and now I'm as mature as an adult, if not more, Naruto sighed inwardly. I'm sorry boy, but this was a side effect of your transformation. You gained all my memories but you can't access them all at the moment, Kurama shrugged. Naruto just shook his head and turned his attention back to his new friends who seemed to wait for him to finish his inner conversation. So what do you three think? He asked, and they all nodded. Then sensei work do your wonders, Naruto smiled. Small twigs of chakra emerged from his belly and slithered into the three animals. Naruto watched this in wonder as his sensei's memories came to him. So you three. What are your names? He asked again. I'm Sublime, the snake girl hissed. Akun, the owl nodded her head. And I'm Minka, the fox girl purred. Well, I'm Naruto. Naruto smiled at them and began to walk back home. Wait up, old man. You will pay the price for shunning me, Naruto thought with an evil smile. What old man? Akun asked as she tilted her head, making the other two look at him too. Oh, I forgot that we all share a mental link, Naruto shook his head. "The old man is my father the Hokage," he answered, making their eyes go wide. "You are the son of the Yondaime," Sublime whispered. "Only by blood," Naruto growled, signaling the three that it was a sore topic. "This is going to be a topic for a later time," the three thought simultaneously. "You know that I can hear you, right?" Naruto thought with a smile. The three blushed and looked away, not really wanting to look at him right now out of embarrassment, while Kurama's howling laughter echoed through their minds. Flashback end. Naruto sighed at the memory and looked upwards. Above him sat Sublime and Minka, looking at the elder Namikazes with disgust. Akun went back to the forest because her mother needed her for something. After the four had met, Naruto had devoted himself to training and studying. He had graduated early together with his best friend Itachi, and they joined the Anbu Corps together. Shortly after Itachi became a captain, his friend followed him in his rank. Naruto just sighed and stood up and stretched his back. As he stretched his arms out, Sublime slithered back into his sleeve, though she was at least 3 inches long now. Minka jumped on his shoulder and the three vanished in a leaf shunshin. Hours later, Weasel kneeled before the Hokage after informing of the Uchiha's coup against Konoha. Minato sighed and rubbed the bridge of his nose. He would have no choice but to order their execution. "Hokage-sama, may I give you an option of my own?" Weasel asked firm. Minato gave him a questioning look but nodded. After a short chakra spike from Weasel, another Anbu captain appeared beside him. This one wore a fox mask and a black cloak. He also kneeled before the Hokage. "Why have you called for me, Weasel?" he inquired. "The Uchiha clan are going for their coup. We are in need of your seals," Weasel stated, making the Hokage raise an eyebrow. "What could an Anbu know about seals that I don't know about?" he thought, curious as he caught the glimpse of the family picture on his desk. He cringed at the sight but shrugged it off, which didn't go unnoticed by the two Anbu. "Hokage-sama, I agree with Weasel. With my seal it wouldn't be necessary to kill any Uchiha," Fox stated, just as calm as Weasel. "What are you talking about? I am a seal master after all, and I don't know of any seal that could help us in this situation," Minato stated, a bit angry. "With all due respect, Hokage-sama, I have a seal to deactivate the well-known Uchiha curse," Fox stated again. Minato was about to dismiss the Anbu and have him demoted when Weasel held up his hand. "Hokage-sama, I'm living proof of effect of the seal," he stated, and pushed the hair from his neck to show the Hokage the seal placed there. Minato stared at the seal with shock. "Explain yourself, Weasel," he barked. "During our time in the academy, Fox and I were great friends. He noticed my sudden changes in behavior and investigated it. Soon he found the reason for my change. I'm one of the few Uchihas affected by the family curse. He designed a seal of his own together with his familiars and placed it on me. I felt the grip of the curse over my mind lift immediately. We even had it checked by the great Toad Sage and he approved it," Weasel explained monotone. Minato stared at the two Anbu captains in shock. "Jiraiya-sensei knew of such a talent in the Anbu Corps and didn't inform me? Why would he do that?" the Hokage thought with narrowed eyes. "You speak of familiars. What kind of familiars?" Minato inquired. To his shock, a orange snake slithered from Fox's sleeve and a fox peeked out from inside the hood. Minato tensed a bit but was soon stopped. "These two are two of my 3 familiars, Hokage-sama. The snake is Sublime and the fox is Minka. The third isn't present at the moment because she had to visit her mother," Fox explained calm. The Hokage stared at the teen before him and his animal partners. "Why does he seem so familiar?" he thought, a bit confused. "Hokage-sama," Weasel stated firm, getting his attention. "Can we deploy?" he asked. "Do that, Weasel. Fox, you will be in charge of the operation. Take a squad with you just in case," the Hokage ordered. With that, the two Anbu captains vanished. Minato sighed and slumped back in his chair. A new seal master was in Konoha and he had even found a solution to one of the oldest problems in Konoha. He actually managed to create a seal against the Uchiha curse. Suddenly his mind returned to the picture on his desk. In it was his whole family. Kushina with Naruto in her arms standing by his side and Naruto standing further away from the three, just barely in the picture with a scowl on his face. He sighed as he once again realized how much his son had distanced himself from his family after he had yelled at him years ago. The Anbu squad appeared in the Uchiha compound already briefed on the mission. "You know what to do," Fox stated cold, receiving a nod from everyone. With they dispersed and got to work. While the Anbu hunted down their respective targets, Fox and Weasel had their eyes of three very important people. "You take Fugaku-san while I handle the elders," Fox whispered to his friend, and they parted ways. Weasel sneaked into the house and towards Fugaku's office. Said man sat at his desk and thought on how to start the coup. He didn't even see it coming as his body was suddenly paralyzed. Out of the corner of his eyes he saw an Anbu with a weasel mask. "Itake, you traitor," he thought as his son placed a seal tag on his neck. The moment the seal activated, the man felt his mind becoming clearer and sharper. It was as if a heavy burden was lifted from his mind. The paralyzing effect left Fugaku's body soon after and he stood up unsteady. What did you do to me?" he inquired. "I deactivated the family curse with a seal," Itake stated monotone. "But how?" his father was confused. "With a seal a friend of mine developed," his son shrugged. "But won't a seal wash of over time?" Fugaku inquired further. "No. This seal is embedded into your skin and only visible through a special seal master technique. Mine is only visible because it wasn't so far developed at the time I got it," he explained while showing his neck to his father. Fugaku eyed the seal before he shrugged. "I guess I will have some things to make up for, to my family especially, don't I?" he asked and received a nod from his son. "But not today, father. Mother and Sasuke are at the Namikaze compound right now. I had her away from the compound because I didn't want her to be hurt. Now I have to return to my comrades till everything is over." Itake smiled and left Fugaku to think to himself. "I hope I can make up for everything I did over the years," he sighed and fell back in his chair. Meanwhile everyone affected had a seal placed on them and squad returned to the Anbu HQ. Fox appeared once again before the Hokage and kneeled down. "Hokage-sama," he called. Minato looked up from his work. "Report, Fox," he ordered. "The Uchiha coup has been evaded. Everyone affected was marked with the seal and reports from the squad show that the seal worked perfect," Fox reported. "Just who are you?" Minato thought. "Fox, remove your mask," he ordered. Naruto rose an eyebrow but complied. As the mask left his cold and emotionless face, Minato paled. There before him kneeled his son, who should only have made it to Genin by now, with cold purple eyes. "Wait, purple? Naruto has blue eyes. Wait, these look like the Rinnegan. Could it be that he somehow gained the strongest dojutsu? But how?" Minato tried to think of a solution. "Is that everything, Hokage-sama?" Naruto inquired, calm and cold. Minato only nodded weakly and Naruto vanished in a shunshin, with sparks appearing in his place after he had put his mask back on. Minato just sat there and thought about his mistakes. "Thank you for your help, Naruto," Itake whispered as they entered the changing room. "Don't worry about it, my friend. Your family is as much of a family to me as it is to you. I don't know what I would have done if they all had died tonight," Naruto stated firm as he threw his uniform in his locker after the girls slipped out of his coat and went to the shower. Itake joined him soon along with some others and everyone began to hold small talk. Meanwhile Naruto and Itake stayed silent. "You know, Itake, there is a addition to the seal I have never told anyone about," Naruto stated, suddenly getting his friend's attention. "The effect of the seal will be handed down to your descendants, but it will also give them a immunity to mind controlling or altering seals," he stated with a shrug as he shut off his shower. "You should return to your family. I will handle the report to the Hokage, he stated and left the shower room. Itaka looked after his friend with a smile and finished his shower. When he came in the changing room, the door to the hallway closed as Naruto just left to go home. What have I done? Minato whispered as he realized how less he knew about his son and how he neglected him even after Jiraiya bringing him the prophecy from the toads. After Naruto had distanced himself from his family, Minato and Kushina hadn't really done anything about it because they thought it was only his rebellious phase. Minato knew that he had hurt him, but not to this degree. Dejected, he left his office and began to walk home, not wanting to use his Flying Thunder God technique and face his family all too soon. After half an hour of walk, Minato finally reached his house and entered with a hung head. From inside he could hear the voices of two women. One was his wife Kushina and the second was Mikoto Uchiha. They were having their usual girl talk. I'm so proud of Naruto. He and Itachi are the best stealth squad ever, Mikoto cheered a bit. Minato frowned at that. Mikoto knew of my son being an Anbu, he thought sad as he realized once again how much he missed in his son's life. Kushina didn't seem to be any better because her friend's words pierced her heart like a stake. She felt so empty. Naruto is a Anbu? Why does Mikoto-chan know more about my son than me? Why won't you let us in anymore, Naruto? We are sorry, she wailed inwardly but kept her smile on the outside to not worry her friend. Is he really that good? Kushina inquired, eager to hear more of her son. Good? You should have seen him. He wasted the Anbu commander when he entered them for badmouthing one of his friends. Mikoto laughed and the Namikaze's jaws hit the floor. He is strong enough to defeat the Anbu commander, they thought simultaneous. They really don't know a thing about their son. I guess that's to be expected. After all, he doesn't want to open up to them anymore, Mikoto thought with a frown, not knowing the reason for Naruto's dislike of his family. Minato decided it would be just this point to make his presence known when he heard light tapping steps behind him. He turned around and saw his 4-year-old daughter Naruto totter to him with her blanket in one hand and with the over rubbing her eyes. She wore her red overall pajamas and looked sleepy at her daddy. Daddy hui ma nai, she slurred in a half-awake state. Minato stared at her confused, not really sure what she meant. Kushina heard her daughter's voice from the hallway and stood up to look for her. Mikoto just stayed behind with her sleeping son in her lap. Are you talking about one of you plush toys, Naruto-chan? Minato asked as he crouched before his daughter, whose eyes shimmered angry at his question. Naruto just blew up her cheeks and pouted while stomping on the ground like any angry child would do. Just as she wants to yell and wake up Sasuke, not that she knew of that, the front door opened and closed. It's not nice to yell so late at night, Na-chan. Shouldn't you be sleeping by now? Naruto asked in a brotherly tone as he crouched down in the door to be at his little sister's eye level. Naruto just stared at him for a second before she jumps forward in a blur and crashes into him. Her small arms trying to wrap themselves around his upper body and burying her face in his bare chest. Minato and the newly arrived Kushina just stare at this sibling moment confused. None of them knew that these two were so close. They also took in his clothes, which were unusual for a ninja. He wore a hakama with black pants and a dark orange, nearly brown, top part, and a pair of black sandals. The hakama was partially open and revealed part of his bare chest, showing of his muscles and some scars. Scars a boy his age shouldn't have. The older Namikaze frowned at that. Was this boy? No. This shinobi really their little boy? From Naruto's behavior it seemed like she was used to seeing him like this, but for them it was a different thing. Their son wouldn't allow any contact, and if he did, only the bare minimum. That sent another pang of pain into their hearts. Kushina didn't even notice the Rinnegan in her son's eyes because of the pain. Hokage-sama. Namikaze-sama, he greeted without any emotion and gave them a curt nod, ripping them from their thoughts. Then he picked up his sister, who in the meantime had snuggled herself deep into her big brother's chest for the most wanted comfort, with one arm and walked into the kitchen to get himself a glass of water. As he passed the couch on which Mikoto sat, he smiled. "Good evening, Mikoto. How are you today?" he greeted the Uchiha woman. "I'm fine, thank you, Naruto." "Anything special going on today?" she asked with a smile that hurt the older Namikaze once again. "Not that I know of," he gave a light shrug. "Oh come on, Naruto. I know something was up. If it wasn't, Itaka wouldn't have asked me to leave the clan compound for the day," she scolded the boy in a teacher-like voice. "Noting goes past you, Mikoto-chan," Naruto sighed, getting a blush from the woman. "You are right. Something happened. Fugaku and the elders wanted to push the coup." He filled a glass with water while Mikoto gasped. "Did you?" She trailed off, staring at her son's best friend. "If I did, I would be at a bar drinking myself to death and not come here like it was nothing, you know that," the teen scolded the woman who hung her and accepted the answer. "No. I finished the blood seal a while ago and we applied it to all members affected. The danger is gone and everyone is alive," he smiled as he gulped down the water. "Thank you, Naruto, for always being there." She trailed off once again, but this time because she felt a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Don't worry about it. The Uchiha clan are part of my family, so it's only natural that I look out for you," he gave her a knowing smile which she answered with her own. "If we'll excuse me now. I'm tired and I have to bring this little daredevil to bed," he sighed as Naruto giggled at the mentioning of her nickname. "Sleep well then," the black-haired woman smiled. "Will do. Get home safe, Mikoto-chan," he smiled and walked upstairs. There was a potent silence for a minute before Kushina opened her mouth. "What was this about, Mikoto-chan?" she asked in a sweet tone which barely hid her jealousy. "What do you mean, Kushina-chan?" "I was just having a talk with a friend of mine who just happens to be your son." "Is there a problem?" the Uchiha replied with a calm smile that vanished right after she finished and made space for a dark look on her face, making the Namikaze nervous as her matured Sharingan flashed up. "That reminds me. I think we should have a long-needed talk," she growled, making the other two sweat. Nobody noticed that little Sasuke slept through the whole thing. Naruto carried his sister towards her room, but she just shook her head, still buried in his chest. "I don't wanna sleep by you," she pouted and looked up to use her killer blow. She changed her position on his arm and looked up to him. Naruto made the mistake to look down and was immediately caught in her move. Her eyes were big and teary and she held her blanket to her chin with both hands, plus showing him a quivering lip. The teen fought with himself, his will straining itself not to fall for Naruto's puppy eye jutsu. After 10 seconds his mind gave in and he sighed. Okay. You win." Again, he shook his head with a smile and muttered the last part to himself. She just smiled and snuggled against him again. He walked into his room and grabbed into the top part of his hakama and pulled out a small bag of ninja weapons and placed it on his nightstand. He then fell backwards on his bed and took a deep breath. "Sleep tight, Na-chan," he smiled as he felt her curl herself up into a ball on top of his chest. "Night. Nai," she whispered as she drifted off. Naruto just sighed with a smile and looked at the ceiling. "So what do you think, sensei?" he thought. "About what?" Kurama asked. "The seals we put on the Uchiha. I think it was a good idea to use the seal. If you hadn't, you would have lost a lot of your precious people today. I know, but I have the feeling that something bad is going to happen in the future because of it," the teen sighed. "Don't think about it for now. You should get some rest," Kurama stated firm. "Will do, sensei." With that he closed the mental connection to the fox and drifted off to sleep. "I hope you are wrong about this feeling, boy," Kurama thought, unsure but also not knowing that his three familiars listened in on them. "I hope so too," the three thought simultaneous. One might want to ask where Sublime and Minka had been since he exited the Anbu HQ earlier. Simple. While he took a shower, the two went to his room and went to their respective sleeping places, knowing that Naruto would want to sleep by him tonight. They had heard her being a bit uneasy about releasing her chakra today. Akun in the meantime looked after her newborn siblings while her mom was out searching for food. Unlike normal owls, the owls of the Forest of Death cherish the family bond, so it wasn't rare to meet more of them hunting together. So tell me, why does your son hate you so much? There must be a reason for his behavior, Mikoto asked, eerie calm but with glare, making the parents shrink back into the couch. Well, Minato began the story about his mistake. Flashback. We demand that this monster is killed right this instant. We can't allow the Kyuubi to live on, a fat merchant shouted in anger while the rest of the civilian council cheered, agreeing with their partner. None of them ever liked the boy since they only saw the Kyuubi in him, not the boy called Naruto. I will not kill my son because you don't like him. But it shows how little faith you have in me, your Hokage, Minato yelled as he let loose his killing intent. From now on referred to as Ki. But Hokage-sama, he is a danger to the village, Tsubaki Harano shouted, agreeing with the other counselor. Shut your trap, Harano. You are only jealous because Minato-san chose Kushina-san over you, cheap whore, and now you want to make her suffer because of it, yelled Fugaku, enraged by this woman behavior. This surprised everyone quite a bit. The usual cold and collected Uchiha head snapped at a civilian. It's a first time for everything, Minato smiled. I agree with Uchiha-san, Danzo stated calm, making everyone narrow their eyes on the old warhawk. What are you think of, you old bastard, Hisashi thought, angry. I believe we should make him into a perfect weapon for the village. With it we can expand our territory even more, he stated with a smile, not noticing the menacing glares from the Shinobi Council and the Hokage. Yes, as a emotionless and loyal weapon it would at least have a worth, Homura stated, also not noticing the angry looks. I also agree. Let it be trained by Danzo. He will make the perfect weapon out of it, Koharu agreed with her partner. That did it for Minato and he snapped. Anbu, he shouted, making his chakra flare. The hidden Anbu Corps understood their order, and before any of Danzo's route could make a move, the Anbu appeared behind the three council members and slit their necks, killing them immediately. A stunned silence made itself known in the council room as everyone watched the three dead council members. The shinobi side looked with satisfaction because they never liked these three, and the civilian side turned pale and feared for their lives as their biggest supporters had just been executed. Now, Minato growled with a blood-promising malicious grin. Let me make this clear. No one, and I mean no one, will harm my son in any way. Should I hear of any kind of attack or mistreatment towards him, I will not hesitate to execute everyone responsible. Did I make myself clear? He growled, and everyone nodded, suffering under his malicious ki. Suddenly it vanished and a smile made its way his face, as if the outbreak just now didn't happen at all. Minato looked towards his dead advisors and Danzo, making a disgusted grimace. Anbu, get rid of these corpses. They smell, he ordered in a slightly whiny tone. The Anbu did as ordered, but everyone else stared at him in shock. So where were we? He asked casually with a smile. The shinobi side sweat dropped while the civilians sweated like pigs. After the meeting, Minato sat in his office, tired but happy that he finally got rid of the old warhawk and his associates. These three were the biggest Kyuubi hater supporters in the whole village, but he never could prove anything, and today he finally got rid of them. But he was still in a daze over the new events and the upcoming changes that he let himself open to evil thoughts that Danzo had tried to place in him for a while now. Then as Naruto entered to ask for training, he just snapped at him, calling him a monster and throwing him out of his office. Flashback end. Mikoto clenched her fists as Minato had finished his story, making her bones crack under the pressure and making her knuckles stand white against her tanned skin. You better have tried to make it up to him, you two, or I will pound you in the ground, she growled, barely able to suppress her ki. We did, but, Kushina started. Flashback. Minato had just got the beating of a lifetime from his wife after he told her what happened. You better hope that Jiraiya finds him soon or you will be in an even bigger world of pain, she yelled at the top of her lungs. Usually the whole village would heard her and hurried to aid their Hokage, but because of the soundproof barrier around the compound nothing left beyond the walls. So Minato had to face the wrath of his wife alone and scared. I will make it up to him, I will start his training as soon he's back. Please don't hit me anymore, he pleaded once again, understanding the old saying. Hell holds no fury compared to an angry woman. Just then the door opened and Naruto stepped in with a cold face. His new familiars already having made their way to his room before he entered the house. His eyes were hidden behind his bangs. His parents heard the door and hurried there. Well, Kushina did, while Minato had to limp there. What greeted them wasn't the son they had expected. Before them stood a child with a emotionless expression on his face while his hair shadowed his eyes. Naru-chan, Kushina tried to give him a hug only for him to step aside. Son, Minato asked, fearing for the worst. Yes, Hokage-sama, he asked, just as emotionless as his face. That made the blonde man flinch. Are you still angry with me? He stuttered while Kushina looked with tears in her eyes for her son not wanting to be hugged by her. Angry? No, Naruto stated calm. That made the man relax for a moment till he continued. Disappointed? Yes. You have no right to call yourself my father anymore, his voice got even colder. But son, Minato tried to reason with his son. No, I moved on. I must thank you for opening my eyes to reality, his cold voice was unbearable. What do you mean, Naru-chan? Kushina asked, afraid of the answer. I realized that this is no world of peace but one of war and constant fighting to survive, he stated cold, making her flinch again. Now if you excuse me. I have a training schedule to plan out, he finished and walked past his parents. The two older namikazes just stood there in shock. Minato tried to find an explanation to his son's new level of maturity while Kushina openly cried. What have I done? Minato whispered as he fell to the ground, also having tears stream down his face. Don't get the boy wrong. Naruto has no reason to hate his mother, but with his newly gained maturity and the Rinnegan he had too much to deal with at the moment, so she was an obstacle he had to avoid. So the best choice was distance himself from her as well as his father. Not knowing what he was doing to her with his behavior. For the next 5 years they tried everything to reconnect with their son, but nothing worked. He always brushed them off, saying he wasn't interested or he was busy. The distance he had created between himself and his parents had grown too far as that he could repair it easily. Plus he liked the solitude quite a bit. Because of it he had met his best friend Itachi Uchiha. Like this, his behavior had grown into a habit he accepted as a part of him. Though sometimes it pained him to see or hear his mother cry when he brushed them aside once again. Then as Naruto was born he gave them the finishing blow in their mind. Naruto, you are a big brother now, Kushina smiled, handing him his baby sister. Naruto just stared at the child calmly. A smile hushed over his face, which didn't go unnoticed by his parents. Hoping that this was sign that we was opening up to them again, Kushina smiled. You like her? She smiled at her son as Naruto grabbed her brother's index finger with her tiny hands. Yes, he stated calm, and her grin grew. Now you can concentrate it on your child and leave me alone, he finished while shattering his parents' hope real hard this time. But son, Minato tried to reason with him again, hoping it was just a cruel joke. Hokage-sama. I must take my leave now. I have important business to attend to. So excuse me, he stated and handed Naruto back to her mother, who looked equally shocked. With that he turned to the door and left. But before he closed the door behind him he turned around and bowed. Goodbye Hokage-sama, Namikaze-san. With that the door closed. Unknown to the boy, he had just inflamed their hope with his words. From then on, the two concentrated on Naruto and gave Naruto his space, hoping that with them following his advice they would get another chance to gain his trust back. But it also cast him into the shadows. The same shadows that Minato feared because of the prophecy, but they didn't know that. Yet Naruto was thankful for them not trying to get him to forgive them anymore. He had time to think on how to fix the rift in the family he had created. Flashback end. Naruto is way too hard-headed for his own good. Mikoto relaxed a bit inside. What do you mean, Mikoto-chan? Kushina asked as she wiped away a few tears that had formed as she had explained their attempts to reconnect with Naruto. I mean that Naruto cares about you too, but he just doesn't know how to fix the rift he created between him and you. He won't even accept any help because he thinks that it's his responsibility. Mikoto sighed sadly. Hearing that their son actually still cared about them made the two smile. I still have a chance to get my little boy back, Kushina thought happy. Why won't you let us help you, son? We want you back as well, Minato thought sad but smiled as he thought that his son just needed time. I have to go now. I want to make sure that everything is fine back home. Mikoto stood up and stretched her back before she picked up the still sleeping Sasuke. Good night, you two, she stated calm but with a slight smile. You too, Mikoto, the Namikaze smiled as she vanished in a shunshin. Come on, let's go to bed. It was a long day, Minato sighed. Kushina only nodded and the two walked to their bedroom. The two passed their son's room and threw a peek inside. What they saw made them smile. On the bed lay Naruto sleeping with Naruto sleeping on his rising and sinking chest, curled up in a ball and sucking her thumb. They just smiled and closed the door again, not noticing that Naruto was awake. He had woken up as he felt them nearing his room. He just sighed sad and closed his eyes again. The two reached their bedroom. They just dropped their clothes on a chair each, too tired to do it properly, and fell into bed. Not a word was spoken as they thought about the day. They had always thought that Naruto was just brave because she never came to them during a thunderstorm in the night. Now they knew that she searched comfort with her big brother. Say, Kushina, Minato began. She answered. Did you know that Naruto had the Rinnegan? He asked calm. Kushina on the other hand sat straight in the bed and looked at her husband in shock. He has what? She whispered in shock. The Rinnegan. I found out today when I ordered him to take off his mask after he finished his report on the Uchiha mission, he explained, still looking at the ceiling. How? Was the only thing that came to her mind. I have no idea, but it may explain a few things, Minato replied sad. What, for example? She inquired, eager to know more about her son. Why, you are still alive, he stated in a pained voice. What do you mean? She asked, confused and a bit afraid. You remember what happened on the day we sealed the Kyuubi, right? He asked, finally looking at her. Yeah, why? She asked, still not getting what he meant. Flashback. What have you summoned me for, mortal? The Shinigami growled. I have summoned you to seal the Kyuubi in my son, Minato explained as he coughed a bit of blood. You are aware of the price for summoning me, right? The Shinigami asked. Yes, I know, and I'm willing to pay it, Minato coughed. Very well then, the Shinigami sighed and reached out towards the Byakuya. Something is wrong here, she thought as she eyed the rampaging fox. Yes, she. The Shinigami is a woman. Deal with it. Nonetheless, she grabbed the fox's soul and began to seal it into the infant before her. While she did, a new voice entered her mind asking her for a favor. A favor she granted wordlessly. As the sealing is complete, she turned to the two dying parents. Ready to be devoured by the Shinigami, Minato closed his eyes, making peace with his mind. But nothing happened. Instead, he felt all wounds of the battle heal and his used chakra return to him. The heavy panting Kushina felt the same. Her strength and vitality returned. Life once again flooding her veins. The two opened their eyes and looked at the transparent form of the Shinigami. "Why are we still alive?" Kushina wondered loud. "Your price has been paid already along with a huge tip namikaze, so there is no need for you to die here today," she stated firm and vanished. The two stared at the spot where the death goddess was just a few seconds ago. What the fuck just happened? Minato wondered loud, only to be hit on the head from his wife. "Minato language," she scolded him while looking at their sleeping child. The two smiled at their son, having high hopes for him and happy to be alive to see his future. "I knew it was a good idea to listen to his request. Live long and well Naruto," the Shinigami thought as she watched the family from her realm. Flashback end. "You think Naruto sold his soul to save us? But that's impossible. He was just a baby at the time." Kushina scowled at him, not wanting it to be true. "I know. Maybe it was because he had the potential to activate the Rinnegan that the Shinigami spared us," Minato pondered. "Maybe," Kushina nodded and lay down again. Unknown to them, the Shinigami listened in on them and smiled. She remembered how Kurama had offered his soul in exchange for the two to live after she had freed him from the genjutsu he was under. She had accepted to take his soul once Naruto died. With new hopes, the two namikazes fell asleep. That's the end of this part, guys. If you want the next part, then like, subscribe and leave a comment saying so. This is Maelstrom signing off.